Everyone, welcome to the Women's Show. I am Chiatunga Rebecca Juna, your host, and today we talk about the post-budget and the activities that are happening and about the budget process in Uganda, the financial year 2023-2024 budget. And today with me, I host the formidable Julian Nyabuhara from the Uganda Women Traders and Manufacturers Association. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for hosting me.
How did you find the budget process?
Well, thank you so much. The budget process. Let's first look at the theme of the budget, of this year's budget. It is in simple words, because you realize it has very complicated English.
Yes.
So, in simple words, they are trying to see how some sectors can access money. Because research says that for Ugandans, among 10 Ugandans, only four of them don't touch money. They are not in the money economy. They don't access money. They don't, in the process, in whatever they are doing, somehow they don't make money, but they are spending money. In other words, the government is spending money on them, but they are not in any way making money. So they are not in the money line. So I think what government is trying to say and what is driving that is to ensure that every Ugandan can get into the channel of money, can touch money, can spend, can make money, can spend, we get into the money economy. Every Ugandan should get into the money economy. And you can see the focus is in agriculture, in making sure that in the industry sector, and then ensuring that everybody gets into the digital platform. That's a very nice thing. And according to where we are going as an economy and as a country, that's a very relevant thing. But then, if you look at the budget, does it live to the theme? Do we always live to the theme? Do our budgets live to the theme? The yearly themes that we normally get.
Yeah.
I think that's what we have to analyze first, and see are we getting to where we want to be in the shortest time? Because if you realize that we have a lot of people who are because when government is paying for UPE, it's providing medication for most Ugandans who cannot afford. It's putting up infrastructure, which is very expensive. But then there are Ugandans who are not contributing in any way to make sure that this budget is financed. Then you can see that we somehow pull the government backwards. They are stretching way too much in order to make sure that every Ugandan is comfortable. So what's our core? Our core is that, yes, the budget is saying let's have every Ugandan make money. Let's at least have every Ugandan a certain percentage pay taxes. And if we look at the budget, we need to do what it is supposed to do. So our conversation this afternoon should be about, let's look at this budget, the credibility of this budget, look at the process of how this budget is put in place, because we tend to neglect a very huge part of the population in the budget process. There are so many people who do not even know how a budget comes in place.
Yes.
We only hear and wait for June every year for the budget to be read. And we are not so much involved in the budget now. I've already said it before. Years back, even someone who has never gone to school, used to know that in June they are going to read the budget, and everybody was expectant to know what is going to come in the budget, because they would read to detail. They would read and give prices, and they even give an instruction. The Minister of Finance would give an instruction that with effect from tomorrow or at midnight, prices are going to change, either upwards or downwards.
Yeah.
So that was something that everybody was excited to, was waiting to listen to. And that's why I think people, our parents were very excited and took part and were interested in the budget than now.
Yeah.
Even with all these facilities that are around, there are phones, radios are everywhere, newspapers are everywhere, information flows, but you hardly get people interested in listening to the budget. The time when budgets were being read as we grew up, the country would literally shut down, because everybody would close
Was eager to
shop.
listen to the budget.
Everybody would close shop. The country would be on a standstill to listen to the budget from the start to the end.
Maybe now the people believe that there is nothing they can achieve in the budget, all that.
And that's where our conversation should be going.
And for me, I believe that if you see that the taxes are rising, but people, and they are saying the economy is a little bit stable, but people are not feeling that there is money in their pocket. How do you tell somebody to commercialize agriculture, and when they know that, like the agro inputs, they are very highly taxed, and also they are substandard? Does this budget really speak to the local person, or it speaks to a foreign person?
I think it could be speaking to the local person, but the process has been, the process and the delivery process has been complicated. So when they read the budget, they amass so many things in one thing, and it's very hard for most people, even graduates, to interpret that budget and understand it. So I think also the way of delivery, that is something I want to talk about in the credibility of the budget. What's the credibility of our budget? The credibility is that we should make sure that we take part as Ugandans. We should take the responsibility of being part of the budget. What's the process of getting the budget to the time when the minister reads it? There is the preparation stage, when all papers are coming from all sectors, from districts, from parishes, from everybody's bringing in their papers to put up a budget framework paper. So from there, then we go to ensuring that all this that has been put together has been accepted and has been approved, the approval stage.
Yeah.
And then from the approval stage is we go to execution. That is around June. That's when they start working on the budget, and
We also have the consultative meetings.
Of course, the consultative meetings come in the preparation.
I think that's the entry point for the local person.
Yes, that's where people should be. But like I said last month when I was here, is that when people are aware that from September, that's when everybody should actually take responsibility. The statutory laws are clear that the budget should start, the consultative meetings should start from LC level. But how many LCs in this country have called meetings, or have even been facilitated that this time you should hold budget meetings? I don't think that has happened in a very long time.
Or even understand the national budget.
We could start with basic information. Yes. If you called people in the village and called them for an LC meeting and said, this is a meeting where we are planning for the national budget. What do you think should come in the national budget? In a local language, I'm telling you, people would give you brilliant ideas, very brilliant ideas, because they are speaking from things that affect them. For example, people who are in agriculture, we all know that fertilizer cannot be bought at this time. Fertilizer is too expensive. Actually, most people who use fertilizer, most of them have stopped using fertilizer. So everybody is looking for subsidies. How do we get subsidies? People who are in the tea sector cannot, because tea cannot do without fertilizer. So fertilizer is way too expensive. If you're getting a bag of 50 kilograms at around 180, 170, that's too much money for someone who is.
And yet you're not getting out the amount
exactly,
that you have
because the
put in.
prices haven't changed. The story started with the Russian war, that we couldn't get fertilizer because most of our fertilizer in this country was coming from Russia. But now we are going into 2 years and we are not seeing any change soon. And government is not coming in to give subsidies and say, look here, we are going to subsidize this. And we haven't seen it in the budget. As the agriculture sector, as the tea industry, as the coffee industry, we haven't seen these subsidies, because as government, these are things they should plan for. That now that there is the Russian war, let's put subsidies for inputs for the next 5 years in the budget. So such that by the time the 5 years have elapsed, probably the war will have ended and things will have stabilized. We will have found other alternatives of getting the fertilizer.
Even if the war doesn't end, we are catered for.
Like, yes, like I'm saying, there are other ways as they create alternative ways of finding how to provide for these agro inputs, for herbicides and all these things. So there is no way you're going to tell me that you want to monetize the agriculture industry if you're not facilitating them, if you're not giving them subsidies. Because now, to tell you, like a tea farmer, I'm a tea farmer, I am not getting any money from my gardens. Reason why? The money that I would be getting, which government is talking about, the monetization of the agriculture sector, I'm spending all that money in the agro inputs, the fertilizers, the herbicides. All that money is going to. I'm not making any money. We are not making any money. So what we are saying is, does in the budget, as I speak about the budget credibility, do they consult? Do they do proper consultations before they sit down and start working on this budget? And then we also need to know, through the process, who is consulted. We need to ensure that public gets involved in formulating these budgets, because the budgets get back to the people. The people are the ones who are affected directly by this budget. We are the ones who pay the taxes. We are the ones who ensure that funds are available. And we are even the ones who pay the loans, because the budget is financed almost 19 trillion is going back to paying debt of the debts. So if we are all paying debt up to that tune
and
per
top
year,
of that, we're going to borrow domestically and externally to finance the next budget.
That's where my challenge is that why is it as a country we are only depending on one channel of income, and that is taxes. So that means, what does that mean to a Ugandan? It means that URA is going to make sure that it squeezes money out of everybody, wherever you are. Even if you're paying school fees, they will deduct some money from you. So as we speak, if you're from the time a child is born in this country, she begins paying taxes until you die. How do we pay taxes?
And unfortunately, for that money that is borrowed, we get to see that it's not doing the work. People are not seeing the services trickle down to the local grassroots person. So how are you going to tell somebody that they are paying a tax when they're not seeing the services? I think you saw the Kampala roads that they were talking about. For a market woman, for example, who had to, let's say, get matoke from Masaka. By that time, RERA had its issues that it had broken down. So they had to pass through Sembaweli. Those are high costs. Then they come through Kampala. Their matoke gets spoiled. By the time they reach maybe Nakawa Market or Nakasero, we are saying, no, as for us, we are going to still buy at 1,000 shillings. But the amount she has put in to transport the goods to the marketplace is high. Does government really consider that, or it's just let's pay more taxes and people not feel the services that are close to them?
I think it is because, like I've said, the whole process gets the whole process becomes complicated from the day go, from the word go. They've just finished reading the budget. In September, they are supposed to start working on the next financial budget. That is 2 months from now, right? So now I'm asking myself, before you even give accountability, we are not looking at the accountability of last year.
Yeah.
What does the Auditor General do? What does the Auditor General give to the nation to explain to them how their money has been spent? The last year, the money that we've been paying as taxpayers, the loans that we've been paying, I've been explaining of how every Ugandan now is paying tax right from the time you're born.
Yes.
Because you notice now how hospitals are very expensive. When you give birth, you start paying tax from day one. That child pays tax. Through this very expensive treatment, she starts paying tax from the time she's born. And how are we paying taxes? By buying very expensive drugs. Because the hospitals need to pay tax. I don't know whether some hospitals are tax exempt. I think some medication they say is tax exempt. They are medical machinery that is tax exempt. But of course, all these hospitals cannot be this expensive without a way they are paying tax, and which is very expensive. So we are saying now, then as you study through school, you're buying soap very expensively, you're buying books very expensively, you're paying tax. Everybody is struggling to pay tax. So we are saying, okay, because when they come to my shop, where I have my shop, let's say in Nigeria or wherever, and URA has come to everybody now, they are coming to close our shops. They are requiring me to pay tax. So we are saying, okay, we are the ones financing this budget. As a nation, as the Ministry of Finance, what have you done for us to make us part of this budget that we are financing? Yes, we know you're constructing roads, we are constructing infrastructure, but as Ugandans, we need to have one centralized place, like a portal, where ideas are sent by Ugandans, giving ideas on how we think the budget should be in our next financial year. That should be one gathering place of information. Whoever is on Facebook, whoever is on Twitter, whoever is on TikTok can be able to send information to this portal of how we think the budget should come out and how we think our money should be spent. And we should also be able to demand for accountability. And accountability should be given to us. Not even demand. We shouldn't wait to demand. Our accountability should be given to us as Ugandans.
Should be seen in the way the services are reaching the grassroots person.
Exactly. That is why some of the people may not see the services fine, because there is so much work being done in the country. But then we should also have a clear paper on how this money was spent. Clear documentation. If someone wants to refer to the 2 years, how money was spent, that information should be there for everybody to see, such that we create transparency. We create trust and reason. Let the people have reason to pay. Let them have the confidence and the belief and the trust in their government, and say, yes, I'm proudly paying my taxes because I know where this money is going. Even if you come and say, yes, we do not have money to do potholes, but we are sure that this money did something else, which we saw and which we've seen, which you've accounted to us as Ugandan. So everybody in the past 1 month has been talking about the budget. We are talking about allocations in the different sectors. We are talking about what we think should be done with the budget. But we need to look at the process of budgeting, and how from the start to the end. And where should Ugandans come in? Because we are not going to keep talking about how much has been allocated to education when we have not given our ideas on how much we think should actually go to education. So that is those are one of the things. But it's good that people are talking about it. The information is beginning to flow. There are so many platforms where people are beginning to talk about the budget. And I think as government, it's also picking a few ideas and saying, okay, now where do we think we should improve?
Okay. So also the theme talks about digital transformation and market access. Do you believe that the government has done, through this budget, has done much to ensure that? Because if you're talking about digital access, I'm looking digital transformation. I'm looking at the woman in the village that is selling her maybe her tomatoes. How can she be able to get market without having to transport to the market, but linking with the buyers when internet is still very expensive?
Yeah.
How is the Uganda government going to achieve this theme when we already have those shortfalls? Leave alone even the implementation process, because this is something that they have come up with as government, it has come up with as Ministry of Finance, it has come up with. But what is the realistic idea that this will be implemented in terms of access, in terms of for people for in the rural areas and those that are bringing their things to the markets in the urban areas?
Yes, I want to agree with you to some extent that as we talk about the digital transformation, like what the budget they have put in place, what is it going to do? That is one explanation that we need to hear. What is it going to do? Are they making airtime cheaper? Are they making data available for everybody, such that people can transact from wherever they are, that you do not have to travel from wherever you're traveling from. If you're in cross-border trade, you can move from wherever you don't have to move from Bunagana to Kampala to pick the things that you want. Or maybe someone is complaining that they do not have network, and you ask yourself, what infrastructure are they putting in place to ensure that network is everywhere, to ensure that money can be moved? We can move into a cashless economy to make things easy and cheaper. And then in that cashless economy, how are we making sure that it is subsidized? Because as we speak now, when someone wants to send 10 million from one person to the other, they will tell you that I would rather travel from Chisoro and bring that money here. Because the withdrawal charges and the expenses I incur in transferring that money are higher than if I moved with that money in my pocket to Kampala and delivered that money.
And these days they have a ferry on that platform using the lie that UCC is calling, and they wipe out people's accounts.
Yes, the other day I met my mother telling me someone has called, they want me to swap the SIM card, and she was so like, they are going to cut off my phone, let me go and swap this, So some of this information should be out there already. And this is information that should be subsidized by government, such that these telecom companies don't have to incur that cost. This is information that should be free. That in case you hear this and this, if someone tells you this and this, then you know that's a fraudster. So now people are beginning to lose trust in the digital transformation, that the level where we had got to. People are beginning to lose that trust. Even using internet only. People are thinking there is a lot of fraudsters on the internet. People are no longer trusting, how do I send my email? How do I ensure that my information is not hacked into? How do I ensure that my information doesn't get out there? So those are things that we should look at and ensure that as we speak about Omuntu wa wansi, the person down there, and how she's going to benefit from this budget. And we are speaking of ensuring they have money in the pocket, they ensuring that there is digital inclusion. Everybody gets gets online in one or another, either business or can get medication without moving from where they are. If they get an emergency at night, they could call someone and someone helps them immediately. Ensuring that there is accessibility of services, nearer accessibility of services like medical, like education, like proper infrastructure. A mother doesn't get scared of going to give birth to a hospital because she thinks she won't reach there because of the potholes and the bad roads, or not even accessing a car. You know, when you go to rural areas, there are places where you move and you spend 2, 3, 4 hours without seeing a vehicle passing. You spend 3, 4 hours without seeing any vehicle passing. And then you ask yourself that in this area, if a woman got pregnant and she wanted to give birth, or there was an emergency, what would happen? Because if you cannot just see even a car passing, what would happen? That means it would have to take like 6, 4 hours to access medication.
Yes.
So that is where we are saying, how is our budget squeezing to ensure that even the person down there can benefit from this budget? Let's not talk a budget for the sake of God.
Yeah.
We can not only concentrate on things that look so important, but then forget the crucial things. And I'm happy in the budget they have put a provision for mindset change.
Yes.
I am wondering how that is going to be implemented, but there is a very big chunk of money, around 30 billion, put aside for mindset change. So that's a very good one, because all this information we give out is trying to change the minds of the people.
Okay.
It is now that women have started to understand what budgets are.
Yeah.
We never used to understand what a budget is. And as we speak, more women get to listen, and more women get to understand, because at times we break down these things and they sound easier. So everybody begins to understand, oh, okay, this is what a budget means. Okay, this is what I should look out for. That's part of the mindset change. I'm happy that that is coming out. Yeah. But then our question is, we need, at the end of the day, let accountability come, and let's also measure the impact of these budgets and say, 5 years ago, this is what was, when we put this in the budget, now 3 years down the road, this is the impact. Unfortunately, I've not had anybody bring out like research or do some bit of study to show the impact of some of these new projects that come on board in the budgets.
Thank you so much. And to the viewers out there, the women out there, please read the budget, access the budget documents, go to the Ministry of Finance website and access these budget documents. Go to your district boards and be able to see what was allocated to the women's needs. And right now we're going to talk about access to market, especially for exporters, because you find that the need to export, you have to be compliant with certain standards. But these compliancy standards are not shared out, and we have not seen them in the budget shared, that if you are going to export to the USA, this and this and this and this are some of the things that you need to have. For example, you find that somebody will use a different kind of pesticide, and when they reach, they're like, no, this is not what we want.
True.
But you find also, if they need the quantity, if they are saying we need how many tons, you come with half of what they've asked for. What has government put in this budget to ensure that exporters understand compliancy, which is information dissemination around compliancy, information dissemination about exchanges? People do not know the dollar rate. They don't follow the dollar rate, especially women. They keep saying, I think it's 3,200, but it keeps fluctuating. Women. But also, if you're to see women that trade in China, they are buying their shoes, or they are selling coffee there, or they are mukeni. What has government put in this budget for the exporter, honestly, to access that market? That is one. But also we have online, online markets. How do we ensure that government listens to the women, especially the fact that you'll be in your house, because now you don't want to go and rent. The rent prices are very high these days. So you want to sell from your home. Government has not allocated enough financing for accessibility of online markets. But also information dissemination is not there. It's either in language that is English, And we have not seen amounts that are to disseminate this information in the local languages. What should government do for the women to access these markets that are?
I think that's where the budget allocation of mindset, the change of mindset is that's where it should be. That is where whereby there is a lot of radio, media disseminating information. It's all about information. And I'm happy that government has started to listen, that we've been talking about information. How do we ensure that information gets to everybody? So if that budget is utilized well, that's where the media houses now come in. That's the budget that should be going to media, PR, making sure all these departments, every government institution should be given a budget, should have a budget on how information is disseminated to the public. For example, you're talking about export. The Export Promotions Board, for goodness sake, that is the authority that is supposed to be ensuring that it disseminates information to all trade associations, trade organizations, business associations, business organizations, every gathering of people, radios, and ensuring that everybody understands that if I want my goods to go to Kenya, this is what I require. How do I work towards that? I may not do it today. I may not do it tomorrow. But I think this is something that I can do in the next 2, 3, 4 years. If I have information. Bodies like tourism sector, how much information do they give out there to actually assure Ugandans that even us Ugandans can actually also go to national parks? We have assumed that national parks are only for tourists. Ugandans are born, educated, become graduates, work and die without visiting any national park. Why? Because our mindset has been that only tourists go to national parks. Only tourists go to 5-star hotels. So that's the kind of mindset that we are talking about. Where is the tourism board? To come back to the people and talk to them and say, look here, entering Murchison Falls National Park, going to Queen Elizabeth National Park, this is how much you're supposed to pay as a Ugandan. As a child, this is how much they are supposed to pay. I feel so sad that our Ugandan children cannot access these national parks because of the fee. Because of the fee and because of information, lack of information. When actually most Ugandans can actually afford. Because if they can go to these small, concerts and pay, I'm sure some parents can save, a big number of parents can save to ensure that they in their lifetime, they show their children these big animals, these animals in national parks. They do tours, they do travels. So I think this goes back to these bodies, government bodies. Are they doing their job? I will look through this camera and ask, are these bodies doing their job? Yes, the budgets are there. Government is doing its job. They are setting up budgets for these sectors. But what are they doing as far as information dissemination is concerned? If the information part is the budget is not so big. Because radios are everywhere now. Media houses are everywhere now. So now, there is also something that you asked about the women and the trade. When we look at this budget, I have said it before, I think the women are the losers in these budgets. They are the losers in these budgets. We hardly appear anywhere. We should be speaking of a national bank for women. We should be speaking for projects for women, a fund for women. But you hardly hear that. Now, someone will come to me and say, Julian, there is a Myoga, there is Wonaba Gagaware, there is PDM, there is a Women Enterprise Fund, there is
youth livelihood,
there is no something some of these programs in the north. But then if there are people in this country who have made it their job to ensure that they benefit from these programs year in, year out, and there are those people who permanently don't look at even those programs. Why? A program comes and they tell you it will start from the parish. Another program comes, they say they want a group of 40 people. So there is a group of women that have been cut off from these government projects. A group of women entrepreneurs that start from those who can afford from 5 million upwards, they have been cut off from these government programs.
Yes.
Because for them, either they are not in groups, or they are not in cooperatives, or they are not in circles, or they don't qualify to get the 5 million, because they qualify for big money like 5 million. So that means they cannot qualify for small from government grants and government funds. So there is that group of the small and medium entrepreneurs, especially women, who have failed to benefit from these programs. And there is only the group that goes for the ones that can afford, let's say, Corato. Those are able to afford big loans from banks. Those that can be able to afford big loans from UDB. But that's a very small number. These are women who don't even listen to radios. So I'm also calling on women that let's also look for information. Information is being dissected so much that even newspapers, they interpret in the local languages. Bukede gets out and interprets the whole budget in detail. I call upon the women, let's also put in effort and let's read these budgets and understand them. Where you can't understand, ask someone. The Rumuris, these newspapers from local languages, they have really tried to disseminate information. But I think we also, as women, we are not putting in enough effort. We are either too relaxed, or we want too much done for us.
Yes.
And we are not even watching TV. TVs are no longer being watched.
Yes.
People are on social media, and this social media time, some of these apps cannot bring out, apart from a few apps that can bring in budgets like Twitter. But these, you can realize the number of women on Twitter is countable.
Yes.
There are few women who can who are on Twitter, or who can follow Twitter and so let's make sure that we put permanent accountability structures every year and ensure that every year, before we read the budget, let's have accountability in whichever form, such that we begin to have trust in the system, have trust in these budgets, and know if we spent how much, and this is how much money. Anyway, we always, after 1 month, now they have read the budget. After 2 weeks, you will hear they will be asking for supplementary budget. That is coming in the next 2-3 weeks.
Yes.
I will not be surprised by that. So we are used to that. So
therefore, women out there, I implore you to do your civic duty and go and get information about the budget, monitor the budget implementation process, because it affects your life. It is one way you can hold government accountable, but you cannot hold government accountable if you do not know what was allocated to you. You also need to be able to utilize social media very well, not to just go on TikTok and make dancing videos. If you have products that you need to sell, go to TikTok, put your products out there. If you have social media accounts, use them rightly to sell your products and to also show the world that you have something to offer. Because if you sit and wait to be disseminated information it might take some time. You have to go out and look for information. You have to fight for yourself, because it's your civic duty. We cannot always wait for government. Government plays its part, but you also have to play your part. If you're able to have, and you're lucky to have a social media account, please look for these ambassadors of the different countries and ask them, how do I access market? And they'll be able to give you compliance standards for entry into their marketplaces. The Ministry of East African Affairs should also share information about how women can access the East African market. I know that we are having a very tough time with the ADF coming back. And the market access of DRC now will be a little bit stable. But how do we ensure that women venture into the East African market? Because there you can at least cross the border. You can at least get your things and cross the border and go and sell your things a little bit.
Well, in relation to this budget, let's first look at the budget of the East African countries and see how do we bounce back as East Africans. If you look at the budget, this year's budgets of the East African region, I think Kenya had a budget of around 34 billion US dollars. Then Rwanda had 4.4 billion US dollars. Burundi had 1.4 billion US dollars. Tanzania had 16 US billion dollars. Then Uganda, we had 14 billion US dollars. So from there you can gauge around 60 on average, or 70 billion US dollars. That's a lot of money in the East African economy. So how do we ensure that we tap into that? How do we ensure that we tap into that? And I have already said it. We cannot penetrate the East African market if we don't work on a few things like the common language, ensuring that we make Kiswahili a common language and emphasize to the business community that we need to speak that language as a matter of fact. Because Tanzania speaks Kiswahili, it's their trade language. Rwanda's trade language is Kiswahili and Rwandese, but Kiswahili is very common there. Then Burundi, Kiswahili it's their trade language. Kenya, it's their language. So as Uganda, we are at a very big disadvantage. Yes. But then
our trade language is Uganda.
Our trade language is Uganda, and being Uganda, it is not spoken everywhere. It is not. So if you move to Kenya, you will look angans with Uganda. So we are calling on to ensure that we also get out and let people, maybe civil society, start projects like this, training women how to speak this language. Basic. We need basic. How to greet, how to interpret this money and make sure that you can be able to. Then the other issue is the monetary, the East African, we need money, the same currency, as soon as possible. It was supposed to take effect on 25th December last year. What happened? I were here, we spoke about it. We've not seen anything happen.
We are still fighting with each other.
Okay, anyway. But then how they are still rejecting most of our goods, agricultural produce. Because the biggest advantage we have as a country is agriculture. It's the only thing that we shall use in the East African region, be it Congo, be it South Sudan, be it Tanzania, that is the only common big advantage we have as a country. But then if our leaders are not fighting enough to ensure that our goods are accepted, we need to get on the table and demand. Go to Kenya and say, if you cannot accept our milk, we are not going to accept your soap. We are not going to accept your basic, almost, we have, I think, 30% of the goods that we use here in Uganda come from Kenya. So why are we also not putting thresholds and saying, no, you need to take this amount of milk, you need to take this amount of eggs, and we also take this. But we are not doing anything about it. We cannot keep crying. We cannot keep having emergency meetings with ministers. We need to sit on the round table and say, we are giving you this amount of things. In exchange, give us this amount of things. That is where the business language should be. We should be discussing the business language, not sitting in meetings and policies and signing documents. No, that is not going to work. It's unfortunate that Congo, which is the hugest, that would be the hugest, biggest market for Uganda, we are getting insecurities there. It's very unfortunate. And South Sudan was doing good for us. Insecurity, you can see it affected us so much. But then we need to also put in effort and ensure that security is up high there. Every one of us need to take responsibility. As you may think that it doesn't concern you, but soon or later it will come to your doorstep. So we need to call on our leaders, ensure that they agree on policies and on agreements that will directly affect us and that directly connect with what we have as a country, especially agriculture. By the way, in Uganda, I think we are not doing enough. Otherwise, our agriculture produce would not even, if people decided to take it outsiders, let's say people in the East African region. Today, people in Mubende and Mitiana are complaining that they don't have food. Why? In the last 4 months, Kenyans went and cleaned. There is no maize at all.
Yes.
They took all the maize. So they don't even have food to eat. They are waiting on this season. And now you can see the maize is just beginning maybe to dry in the next 1 month. So you can see that the demand is there. But then are we putting structures proper enough to even measure the impact? Because now what Kenyans are doing, they are taking advantage of driving direct to the farmers and even buying maize when it's still in the plantation, in the garden. So the Ugandan farmer, the one in Mubende, the one in Kamwenje, is not feeling the impact of exporting this maize. They are not even aware that they are exporting. They are not in the export market. Why? Because they are selling like any other. They are selling like to Ugandans. So we are saying, can we put a measure that you cannot just come and buy from the garden? You're not supposed to come and buy, you cannot come from Kenya and buy maize from the garden.
But doesn't that put the farmer at risk? Because the farmer wants money. Because now we know we have bad feeder roads going to the villages.
Thank you very much. If government is sure that there is market, Kenyan market, they would do anything to protect this farmer by giving them cheaper herbicides, giving them school fees, emergency funds, and ensuring that their maize dries and it's bought at a very good price. Putting what they call buffer systems to protect the farmers, ensuring that they are protected, their interests are protected, such that they are able to sell. I think for you people are still young. There used to be cooperatives.
Yeah, I know.
And that's what cooperatives used to do.
Yes.
Cooperatives would protect the farmers. What they would do is that they would make sure that if a farmer needed school fees for her child, she would go to the cooperative, get the school fees, and then the cooperative would wait until this farmer harvests. Then they would bring this maize to the cooperative and sell it at a very good price, which was a national price throughout the country. Bugis would sell the same price, Ankore would sell the same price, Kigezi would sell the same price. So they would sell at a very good price, and then the farmer would start to pay from the proceeds of their produce. You get how it works?
Yes.
So that is what the buffer systems do. They protect the farmers. Unfortunately, the cooperatives died in a natural death. I don't know where they died from. But that's the use of ensuring that the cooperatives now, if the cooperatives were still active, what would happen now is that the farmers would not succumb to what Kenyans are giving them now. These Kenyans would come and buy from cooperatives. They would not be allowed to go to farmers. You get the advantage of cooperatives.
Yes.
So that's the system that we need back to protect the farmer. Because if I'm buying, for example, today, I'm buying fertilizer. I'm buying herbicides very expensively. So I am being desperate for the factory to come and pick my tea at whichever price. And this tea is going cheaply to Mombasa. And in Mombasa, it is being auctioned at the cheapest price ever. And being auctioned by Kenyans and exporting it and rebranding it and selling it to Europe as Kenyan tea.
Yet it's Ugandan.
But why? It's because me as a farmer, I cannot be patient enough to add value. If I was able to add value, I would package my tea and export it direct to Europe at a very, very good price. Because tea is a high commodity. So you get the whole system. It's a channel. It's a, how do I call it? It's like a cycle. But then that cycle, there are very key partners that need to be involved in that cycle. For us, for Ugandans to benefit from agriculture, government first must do its job, must take part, must assist farmers. Otherwise, if government neglects a farmer, there is no way a farmer will ever benefit from their produce. Government should take part. Key government bodies should take part. Then also local leaders should take part, such that at the end of the farmer can be able to sell at a good price and can even be able to pay good taxes to government. Because if I'm selling to Bugisu cooperative will have to pay taxes to government.
Yes.
Which will not happen if a farmer sold direct to a Kenyan or sold to whoever they are selling to. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
So I think also government is shooting itself in the foot. It's not creating an environment whereby it's also able to generate enough funds for itself without only relying on taxes to fund the budget. Because if you realize what is happening now, government is entirely depending on taxes to fund the budget. But where did the public enterprises go? We used to have public enterprises that would make a lot of money for government. Government used to have hotels that used to belong to government. They used to have factories. Government used to own enterprises that were managed or that were income generating. And that is the money that would supplement on the taxes. And then we are able to fund the budget. Now, because all these enterprises were sold or were privatized, now government only gets income from taxes and from loans. And that's why we end up being squeezed, paying a lot of loans. Actually, we cannot do without loans. But if we had another way of earning as government, having enterprises that earn money for government, would not be borrowing this much. But we are borrowing externally, we are borrowing internally, we are borrowing everywhere.
People are tired.
We are even borrowing from money lenders now. You heard of the incident of a Kenyan money lender. That is extreme. That's going to the extreme. That even us as business people, you are advised to have at least 7 streams of income. You're supposed to have at least, that's what they talk about, but I don't know whether that's but you can see that government has now been fixed in a corner, that the only way to get money is to squeeze taxes out of people. And if those taxes cannot be squeezed, then that means the only alternative is to borrow. That's not a good position for a government.
For us to be in.
To be in as a nation.
To the tunes of the lender.
We shall be dancing to the new tunes of the lender and dancing to the tunes of the taxpayer. And the taxpayer can mean not to pay and can mean to pay. So where does that leave us?
Thank you so much for joining us. If you are a woman out there, I implore you to please analyze the budget. Please follow the budget process. Be part of the budget process, because your budget is your responsibility and it's a political document. You need to know that it's a political document. And last time I said what is political is personal. You look at what you would want, prioritize it, and go into these budget processes and see where your entry point is. Otherwise, you'll be left out. While we are saying the SDGs, we don't need to leave out anyone. And since the men still implied that we are in Mulembe Gwa Museveni, as women that we've benefited and have kept Museveni in power, women utilize that time and be able to obtain and get funira muwa in Mulembe Gwa Museveni. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind. You're going to find that the different even incentives. Go to microfinance support center. Go to at your district. Ask about Emyoga. Ask about the parish development model. Inquire, look for information, because information is power. As we wind down, what are your parting shots?
Well, my parting shots are, it's just a brief one, is that let's be part of what government is doing. Let's take the initiative to be part of the process. Let's not only talk about, let's not only do the postmortem of the budget. No, let's take part in the drafting of the budget. Let's make sure that we get involved in the ask questions, get involved in the forums that are speaking about the budget. But I also call on media, like the work that you're doing now. Everybody has all of a sudden is up in arms about the budget. Let's do that right from the start. And know that with September, I understand the most crucial time for the budget, when parliamentarians are supposed to be looking into this budget, is December. Before 23rd December, they should have submitted the paper frameworks of the budget framework papers. And now everybody's rushing for Christmas. So they hardly have time to look through in detail in these papers. Can we give this very important part of the budget process time, and then make sure everybody is involved? Trade organizations should be involved, trade associations should be involved, business communities should be involved. Don't only call these people to look at what has already been put in the budget. Let's get involved right from the start. Let's look for minority communities and get representatives for people to speak about the budget in local languages, in languages they can understand. And that's when we shall know and feel the impact of our budget.
Thank you so much, Julian. I have been so delighted to host this, our talk show about women and the budget. Please, women, if you have received things from government, take care of them. Do not break taps or allow children to play on taps that are in the villages, because when these things get problems, they are not budgeted for in terms of repairs. If they've constructed a road and there is a drainage system, kindly don't throw in garbage. Take care of the things that government has given unto you, because they are yours. They are your taxes, and the budgeting process, most of the times, that do not prioritize those little things. I have been your host, Rebecca Juna. Until next time, bye-bye.